Welcome everyone to another CTC software webinar. My name is Chris Berkshire, Director of Technical Services here at CTC, and today we are going to go over a tool called Plotter and Exporter from the BIM Batch Suite and give you all a comprehensive introduction into the tool itself. Before we begin though, I want to encourage all of you to ask questions throughout the entire webinar. Please use the questions panel and I will do my best to try to answer them as we go. And if any questions that I do not answer during the web presentation, I will be sure to answer all of them at the end before we go. This is also being recorded and will be posted to our YouTube channel for you to review at your convenience. So with that, let's get started. As we all know, probably the most exciting time during a project in Revit is print day, right? Or in preparation for print day, and things never go right. There's always some error, and things are always a mess. And that's just getting to be able to print. And then the printing process is never as good as it could be, right? It takes a lot of time. There's always a bunch of other things that we could be doing. Instead, we have to kind of set this up and monitor it and various other things that need to happen. So what we're going to talk about today is Plotter and Exporter and how we can use this tool to automate the printing and exporting process. And set up things in batch and potentially even run it on a schedule. So, well, I guess I'm starting the PowerPoint over. That's good. So today I'm going to show you a little bit about where to find the Plotter Exporter app and a little bit about the UI, show you where things are and how to kind of find your way around, and how to set up a plot set or an export set, and how to configure it to find the right views and or sheets, how we can do it on the fly, and how we can load it up a series of settings and schedule processes, and streamline this as much as we possibly can. So with that, I'm not a big fan of PowerPoints, so I'm just going to show you. And hopefully that doesn't hurt me in any way. So with the Plotter Exporter utility, it is found on our BIM Batch Suite. So I'm going to pull it down here real quick so you guys can get a better look at the toolbar. You'll find it on the CTC software tab, and it will be one of the darker shaded tools right here, Plotter and Exporter. There's a couple of other ones that are very powerful and very useful, and there are other videos on our channel that go over all of these apps if you're interested. Today we are sticking to this one. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up, and you do not need to have the active project open to set it up. You only need to have it open if you wanted to run something on it now. So what I'm going to do though is I'm just going to start from scratch. I'm going to wipe the slate clean and give you a quick tour. So like a lot of our apps, we've got various options and commands across the top. We've got our navigation UI down the bottom. On the left side here, we have two different tabs. One shows you the available views and sheets, and this is what's currently in the project file that you have open. You can also have it reference your project browser organization methods and organize your views and sheets in that fashion if that helps you track things down a little bit easier. It will just go ahead and match up exactly what you got. And or not do that. So it's entirely up to you how you want to navigate this. And everything's here, everything that you could possibly need. So what I'm going to do, and then on the second tab here, sorry, is the Wildcards search library. this is where you go to specify filters in a sense that batch or plotter exporter will use to pull in certain sheets or certain views. Example, all sheets that start with A1, or all sheets that begin with M, or anything to that nature, or views that contain plan, right? Something along those lines. Or you can break it down even further and say views that contain the word room in it. So anything that has the word room in it will now be something that gets included in this, or included in the exporter plot. Then on the right side here, this is where we set up the job, right? Or define what is being printed or what is being exported. And we have the ability to configure this as much as we need. PDFs, DWGs, DXF, DGNs if you're going to MicroStation for whatever reason, DWIFs, NAVIS, IFC, FBX, and then our own CTC model compare file format. If you wanted to do a comparison later on and you want to schedule the creation of that, we have the ability to do that from here as well. And if you had Project Suite, you can do it there. Or if you had Data Suite, you can also do it there. So there's a couple of different ways to go about doing stuff like this. So what I'm going to do is just set up a small job here real quick, and I'm going to add a couple of different wildcards and views to go along with it. So first, the most common thing we're going to do here is generate PDFs. So I'm going to add my first PDF row. And this one's going to be my full size set. So I can go ahead and specify what printer I want to use. Batch Suite comes with the CTC PDF writer when you install it, in the event that you don't already have one. We do include one just in case. And then Revit, or Plotter Exporter will pull in whatever the print settings that the current session is using. So sometimes it's not a bad idea to maybe have your template open at the very least, so that you know kind of what the standard print sets are. So in this case, I'm going to go with this one, and then you pick your folder where you want to put it. Just because it's here, I'm going to put it there. And then you can specify the folder structures. In most cases, you'd probably pick the project folder out on the P drive or something like that. I like dating my folders with, or naming my folders with date and timestamps. And then we have some options to pick down here. Do I want a combined PDF set here, or do I want individual files? I personally like the separate files because then I can go ahead and kick out the specific sheets and have them named in a certain way. And then if I need to pull stuff out or reprint a sheet for whatever reason, it's easier for me to do it that way. And then I stitch everything together with a Bluebeam or whatever other PDF app you got. That's just my personal preference. And then you have the ability then at that point to choose between views and sheets, right? What views do you want to print, or which sheets do you want to print, and then choose the parameters from that. I am just going to stick with sheet number and sheet name. If there was any additional data that you needed to include, that wasn't in a parameter, we have the option down here to specify some custom text and enter in whatever you need. For example, if this was to be a permit set, I can type that in and then specify what type of a separator I want, whether it's underscore hyphen space, space hyphen space. We've got some options here to choose from. So, and then if I want to add an additional date timestamp to the end, I can. If you switch to multiple or combining them, you don't get to specify individual view / sheet names. You're tied to specific project information. So project name, project number, the status, issue dates, things of that nature, and any type of project information parameter that you may have generated throughout the project will be available here. So, so in this case, you probably want maybe the file name. Maybe that's enough. Or you switch it to project name and number, for example. So again, I like doing this one. This is kind of my jam. So I'm going to set it up here. I like this this format. I like it. I'm happy. I'm going to hit OK. Okay. And now I need to specify what's going on this set here. Whether it's I just grab my sheets this way, and I can just physically grab them. And you can shift select or hold on control and select the ones you want. Press and drag them over on top of the set that you have and let go. It'll automatically add them all that way. You can also right click that and say add all. That's another option. Or as I'll show in the next example here, the next setup is you can create the wildcard. So for this second row here, I'm going to add another PDF set. And this one will be kind of my half size, right? So I'm going to do another PDF. We'll go ahead and pick my driver. For my page size, I'm going to go ahead and do the ArcC. We will go to the same folder down here. And, you know, I'm going to do the exact same thing. Pull that out. Add custom text in here. And instead of, well, and I'm going to do my permit set again. And then I'm going to add more custom text that is, that just says half size, just because I can. So you can see it does underscores across the board. If I want to change that to space, hyphen space, you know, I can spread it out and space it out. I'm going to use that one for this example. I'm happy with that, so I'll hit OK. And now I need to go ahead and specify what is coming up here. So I don't need either of these. So I'm going to remove that one and that one. And then I'm going to go to my wildcards. So in this case, just because I need to show you guys how to do this, I'm going to create a new wildcard. So you'll have a couple to start with, whether it's, you know, all views or all sheets. But to make one, you hit the add button here or duplicate, and you specify your criteria, right? So the asterisk and question marks are supported wildcard type characters. So depending on what you're looking for, you type it in now. So let's see here. Let's do, I'm gonna do A1 and then star, and this will be sheets that, and then you type in your description that begin with A1, and I can get rid of the star because you don't need that there. And then specify if you're what you're looking at, sheets or views. You have the ability down here at the bottom to go ahead and define additional filters to weasel it down even further. You know, because it doesn't have to be just the sheet name, right? I can go ahead and also throw in the sheet number, or I'm sorry, sheet name, because we are searching sheet number by default. I can grab sheet name. I can do whatever I want, right? So, which is really slick. And in this case, and you have 4 levels to go through here if you want, and you get your, depending on what you pick, I'll just go ahead and grab one of these real quick, like drawn by. You get all your typical filter options, you know, contains, does not contain, begins with, ends with. And then if you need to work with additional parameters, you can go ahead and create your own custom ones or pull one in from a shared parameter file if the parameters you're looking for are not in the active project. We give you the ability to go ahead to search for that regardless of what's open at the time. So then if you need to, once you get done setting this up, you have a test option down here. It will then let you know how many things are going to show up. There you go. So I'm happy with that. I'll just go ahead and hit OK. So there's the one I made. Here's, I didn't want that again. That's what I get for checking boxes. Uncheck, remove, remove, and then drag and drop it, and we're set now. Okay, so now I've done 2 different sets of PDFs, right? Great. Well, now maybe I want to go ahead and do a Navis export. So I can go ahead and set this up, and you get all of the exact same Navisworks export options here as you would inside of Revit with the Navisworks exporter tools. So depending on the how you've got it organized and what you're looking to do with it, to do what you need. So I don't need URLs. I don't care about attributes or missing materials. Coordinates should be shared. Let's convert the parameters. Sure. I don't care about lights or room geometry. And don't worry about my linked files. I'll do those. I'll let my consultants take care of that. The typical stuff. And then again, we have the option to specify our naming here, whether that's project name, number, the file name, however you want to set it up. Again, I'm not a big fan of file name. You can also just use custom text only if you would like, if it helps you. And I can do my, just call this ARC model and be done with it. You don't have to utilize a parameter if you don't want to. Okay, and then when I hit this, I need to specify a view to go with here. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my Navis export 3D view that I have made conveniently. So, and then you can keep going and load this up as much as you possibly can, right? You can do it all at once, all in one shot, if that's what you'd prefer. You don't have to nickel and dime it and make a setup for every little thing that you've got. You can just kind of run with it. So, and I'm not going to hit run and make you watch this. I'll take you right up to the edge. So there's a couple of different ways we can go about doing this. So one of the things that I always tell people to do, first and foremost, right out of the gate, before you try to hit run, is to validate your setup. Let's make sure that if I do hit go, that this will run. So we do actually have a validate button up here. And it will tell you if there's something wrong, like if it can't find the printer, or the printer that you're using doesn't support the paper size that you specified. Or in this case, I'm doing a bunch of PDFs. If the PDF itself, the sizes aren't configured properly inside of the Revit file that I had open at the time. So it will confirm things for you if you need it to. So it's always it's a nice, safety blanket, right? Make sure that all this work that you spent putting this together, it's actually going to work. So, and then, if it's just a one-off, you can hit run now and it'll run on the project that you have. Or if you've got multiple projects open, you can specify which project to run it on, if necessary, and it'll go. And then depending on, how frequently you're doing this or how it's set up, you'll get something potentially that looks a little like this, right? So we've got ours, I've got mine set to put the date and timestamp on the folder itself. And then within the folder, in this case, it throws me all of the PDFs that I asked for, all the DWGs that I would have asked for. In my case, I set it up to do a bunch of Navisworks stuff. I would see those here as well. So it does it all for you. And, depending on what you're looking for, it should all just lump into this folder. Now, in most cases, you'll probably specify various folders for things because you'll have your PDF folder, you'll have your DWG folder, you'll have your Navis folder. So you'll have to go to various places to check it out. It won't just lump it all into one spot like we've told it to do today. So, but one of the probably most powerful things about this tool, not only can I export everything all at the same time, is I have the ability to schedule this and let it run whenever. In the middle of the night, when I'm at home sleeping, I can have Revit working for me and doing all of my prints the day before print day. You know, instead of on a Thursday, it happens on a Wednesday or Wednesday night, so that when I come to work Thursday, I know what's working or what's not working. So I can hit save on my setup if this is what I want to do on whether it's one project or 20 projects. I can save this. So I'm going to go ahead and save this to my settings folder here. And we'll call this arc full. Actually, we'll call it arc permit half Navis. And I'll hit save and OK. So now what I get to do is use the scheduler option to specify the project, the settings file, or projects for that matter, and when I want it to run. So I can hit the scheduler, gives you some information about the Windows task scheduler, because that's what we're using here. We're incorporating the Windows task scheduler with this. So you can see I've got one that runs on a weekly basis. But here I'm going to run another one. So we're going to call this one arc permit. And you can run it every day, every week, pick your day. You know, what days each month do you need it to run? Which months does it run in? You know, or do you want to pick, you know, it's very, very flexible. You know, so in this case, I'll do every Wednesday at, excuse me, at, let's say 10, and you can type in here too if it makes it easier on you, 10 p.m. So this one will kick off every night. And it's going to run until I tell it to stop. So right now, I haven't told it to stop. It's going to run indefinitely. I can tell it to stop and pick my day. Not in 1753, because then it'll never run. But you get what I'm saying. So I can start there, and we'll say, you know, maybe we'll do it every week for a year. And now on January 1st of next year, it's going to stop. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my config file here. And now I'm going to go ahead and add the Revit files that I want to work with. And it can be just one file, or it can be multiple files. You can pick as many Revit models as you want to be processed by this config file. And it will process them one at a time in the order in which they are listed. So if you had half a dozen projects that needed to all be printed on the same day with the same setup, you can go ahead and do that, no problem. You could even set this up and load in another config file that does something else and assign either the same Revit project or a different one, a different file altogether. And it's going to process them both one after the other. They won't both go at the same time, and it'll just run when the time is right. So then again, we get one more opportunity to validate our settings, make sure nothing's broken. We're good to go. And now I can hit OK. And then tonight at 10 p.m., or Batch Suite will fire off and it'll go. the only kicker here is that you just need to make sure that you leave the computer turned on and the a licensed account logged in, meaning as long as they have access to Revit and there's a license of Batch Suite available, it'll work. So whether you've got it licensed as a standalone license or it's got access to the network for a network license, or you're using the new cloud shared licensing, as long as whoever is logged in on that machine has access to the appropriate license type, it's going to run. So, and again, you'll end up with something similar to what I was showing you here in Explorer, like this, when it's all said and done. So you can say okay, and it's going to go. It'll tell you. And apparently I forgot to uncheck Sunday, so it's going to run twice a week now. Even better. So there you have it. There's one other thing that I wanted to point out here and that's the ability now to schedule Revit files that are living on BIM 360. We're not limited to projects on your C drive or on the local network. If you have a job that is on the Autodesk Construction Cloud or the BIM 360 or Next Gen or Teams or whatever you want to call it, right? It's BIM 360 to me. That's where it's going to be. So I'm going to go ahead and just do another ARC BIM 360, we'll call it this time. And we'll do something similar, not on Sundays, just Wednesdays. There we go. And add my config file again. Great. But this time I can browse to a BIM 360 job. So I will click Add BIM 360. And first time you'll have to sign in. You'll just type in what your Autodesk BIM 360 credentials are. And then it will show you all of the hubs that you are currently associated with. So here's my company's site. But if you had access to other sites based on projects that you've worked on or collaborated on with other offices or other companies, those will show up here as well. And if you've been around as long as I have, you'll remember we had our own little personal hubs from way back in the day. I still have access to that as well. So you may have just one thing shown, or you might have a half a dozen things showing. It depends on how many projects you've worked on and how many are still considered to be active. But then you specify your project to make sure you pick the right file. But you'll have access to all the different projects and the files within those projects. So I'll just go ahead and where did it go? This one. And hit OK. And then hit OK again. And away you go. You're all set. It'll run off and schedule at, in this case, a minute ago. So I'll have to change this to 2 o'clock. But then that'll be it. I'll have all my files. That pretty much takes care of it. There's one other thing that I'll just point out that isn't really a huge feature, but it's kind of cool at the same time. You can configure Batch Suite to send you emails when things are done. So if it is important to you because you need this now, you can set the Batch Suite up to send out an email to you or to people when a process is done, so that you can get that notification and go immediately jump on and get your stuff. So that concludes my presentation for the day. I want to thank you all for joining and putting up with me for the day. Appreciate it. I hope you all had a wonderful set of holidays.